I protect myself. I don't just sit in the house with the television on.
In making memories, literally. Steph and I were sitting out on the back porch the other day having breakfast.
Your dream tournament is now a reality and you've experienced it a few days. What's it like? How has it been run? How do you think it's...
8 words. That is all it took to set the entire internet on fire. What began as a shocking headline spiraled almost instantly into a full-blown cultural collision that fractured social media, divided generations, and left both the sports and entertainment worlds completely stunned. On one side of this confrontation stands Oprah Winfrey, the undisputed queen of global media, a billionaire mogul whose influence has shaped public conversation for decades. On the other stands a 20-year-old Gen Z tennis powerhouse whose explosive baseline game is matched only by her massive, organic viral presence. Instead of sharing a glossy conversation about empowerment, which is what the world might have expected from these two, they found themselves locked in a very public war of words. And the moment it climaxed, with 8 words from Alex Eala that nobody saw coming, the internet did not just react. It erupted. To understand how this drama escalated to the level it did, you have to understand where Eala currently stands, not just in tennis but in the broader cultural landscape. She is a graduate of the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, a player with junior Grand Slam pedigree and a work ethic that has driven her from the ITF circuit all the way to seeded status at WTA 1000 events. But her influence has long since outgrown the tennis court. She is evolving into a global brand, a fashion presence, and a powerful generational voice, one whose matches have transformed from athletic competitions into full-scale cultural events. Stadiums sell out within hours when her name appears in the draw. Sponsors are calling. Magazines are placing her on covers. Major brands are competing for her signature. She is not simply an athlete anymore. She is a movement. And with that kind of spotlight, not everyone applauds. Then, seemingly from nowhere, Oprah Winfrey posted what many immediately described as a targeted critique aimed directly at Eala. The substance of it was pointed and unmistakable. Oprah questioned whether the enormous buzz surrounding the young Filipino star was genuinely the product of exceptional tennis, or simply the result of image management, viral moments, and spectacle. She suggested the conversation around Eala was driven more by personality and controversy than by meaningful athletic achievement. She drew a contrast between being widely adored and creating lasting impact. She implied that while she had spent decades cultivating conversations designed to uplift and unite, Eala represented distraction rather than depth, and that history ultimately remembers substance over noise. The response was immediate and fierce. For critics and supporters alike, the weight of Eala's actual journey made Oprah's remarks feel less like commentary and more like a direct challenge to the legitimacy of everything she has built. This is a young woman who left the Philippines as a teenager, moved across the world alone, trained through losses and injuries and tears shed on courts thousands of miles from home, ground through qualifying rounds and ITF events, and earned every single ranking point through sacrifice and relentless effort. The idea that any of that could be reduced to noise, to spectacle rather than substance, stunned the people who had been watching her grind from the beginning. The internet erupted. Fan bases clashed across every platform. Think pieces flooded timelines. Sports analysts and entertainment columnists rushed to weigh in. Former athletes publicly chose sides. And all eyes turned toward one question. How would Alexandra Eala respond? History has shown that many young stars, when confronted by powerful critics, especially one with the institutional weight and cultural authority of Oprah Winfrey, retreat behind polished statements drafted by agents and lawyers. Carefully worded, diplomatically calibrated, designed above all else to avoid escalation. Anyone who has watched Eala fight through tense Grand Slam qualifying tiebreaks, claw back from 0-4 in deciding sets, and stare down seasoned veterans in the biggest moments already knew that was not going to happen here. She did not wait for management approval. She did not filter her words through a public relations process. She went directly to her own platforms and delivered a response that was poised, powerful, and completely her own. She made clear she has never chased fame, only the opportunity to tell her story honestly and lift up people who come from the same difficult beginnings she did. Whatever attention surrounds her was not manufactured, she explained. It was not born from chaos or controversy. It grew naturally from years of sacrifice, from discipline, from community work, and from real supporters across the world who see themselves genuinely reflected in her journey. Being visible, she argued, is not a crime. It is what happens when someone speaks from their scars and transforms pain into purpose. Her message resonated immediately and deeply, far beyond tennis, because it articulated something larger than one feud. It exposed a generational shift in how stories are told and who gets to tell them. Oprah Winfrey built her empire in an era when media was curated and controlled from the top down. Voices required invitations. Stories required producers and executive approval, and the blessing of gatekeepers who decided what deserved to reach the public. Oprah became the most powerful of those gatekeepers. Alexandra Eala represents something fundamentally different. She picks up her phone, speaks directly to millions of people, and they respond in real time. No studio, no publicist, no permission required. For her, social media influence is not a distraction from tennis. It is an extension of her mission, and her mission extends far beyond winning matches. The phrase that crystallized it, turning pain into purpose, struck such a powerful chord that it began trending worldwide almost immediately, completely hijacking the narrative Oprah had attempted to launch and reframing the entire conversation on Eala's terms. But the absolute climax of the drama, the moment that will be remembered long after the specific details of this feud have faded, came in the final line of her response. After delivering a passionate, emotionally precise, and thoroughly devastating defense of her journey, she closed with no question mark, no diplomatic softening, no olive branch extended. 8 words. My legacy is built on courts, not couches. The collective gasp was almost audible across 7 continents simultaneously. In a single sentence, Eala drew a line so clean and so complete that it changed the entire shape of the conversation. While Oprah has built extraordinary wealth and influence discussing struggle from the comfort of a television studio, Eala is out there bleeding, sweating, winning, losing, and grinding on courts across the world, fighting for every point, every ranking position, and every ounce of respect she has earned. The contrast was not cruel. It was not a tantrum or a lashing out. It was cold, confident, and permanent. A precise assertion of identity from someone who has earned the right to make it. 8 words that turned the tables so completely that Oprah's original critique suddenly felt disconnected from reality in a way it had not quite seemed before. The fallout was spectacular to observe in real time. Fellow players began conspicuously liking Eala's post across social media, a quiet but unmistakably powerful show of locker room solidarity. Former champions who had spent years navigating the same tired narrative, that marketability somehow undermines athletic credibility, came forward in support. The dynamic Eala had just confronted publicly was not new. It had simply never been confronted with this level of courage, platform, and rhetorical precision. Many of her peers recognized it immediately because they had felt it themselves, absorbed it quietly, and said nothing. This confrontation also illuminated a pattern that has run through women's tennis for decades, one the establishment has long hoped would remain beneath the surface. Whenever a young, charismatic female player generates attention that extends beyond the court, a segment of the sporting world attempts to delegitimize her. The script is always the same, recycled with different names across different eras. Anna Kournikovva's immense marketability was wielded against her despite her top 10 singles ranking and Grand Slam doubles titles. Maria Sharapova spent years having to prove that magazine covers did not contradict the trophies on her shelf. Emma Raducanu, who accomplished one of the most improbable achievements in Grand Slam history by winning the US Open without dropping a set as a qualifier, faced relentless scrutiny the moment she signed luxury brand partnerships. The double standard is glaring, and it has never been adequately confronted. When a male tennis player wins a Grand Slam and immediately announces a major endorsement deal, headlines celebrate his business acumen. When a young woman does precisely the same thing, her commitment to the sport is suddenly questioned. Eala's response did not simply defend herself against one critique. It dismantled an entire structural bias that has constrained female athletes for a generation. What Oprah's critique fundamentally failed to grasp is that the playbook has changed, and it is not changing back. Today's athletes, particularly someone as grounded, intelligent, and strategically aware as Eala, have no interest in the old institutional expectation that visibility must be earned through years of quiet, grateful silence. They understand that building a significant platform outside of sport is not a betrayal of athletic purpose. It is leverage, provides financial independence. It allows decisions based on personal values rather than economic desperation. It reduces the total dependence on prize money and rankings that has historically made athletes vulnerable to exactly the kind of institutional power that was being exercised against Eala in this moment. For Eala, her popularity is not a distraction from her tennis career. It is the foundation that allows her tennis career to exist on her own terms, while simultaneously enabling her to uplift the community she came from and the millions of young people across Southeast Asia who see themselves in her story. Beyond the drama, this saga offers a genuinely revealing lens into the current state of women's tennis and where the sport is heading. The WTA is in the midst of a profound generational shift. Legends like Serena Williams have retired, leaving behind legacies so singular that no one player can fill the void alone. The tour is searching for a constellation of new stars, each capable of captivating different segments of a global audience. Players like Aryna Sabalenka, Iga Swiatek, and Coco Gauff are carrying the competitive torch with genuine excellence. But the sport also desperately needs the crossover cultural magnetism that Eala is generating, organically, in quantities that no marketing budget can manufacture. The WTA needs athletes who sell out stadiums, who attract audiences who have never watched a tennis match before, who inspire a 16-year-old in Manila or a 13-year-old in Lagos to pick up a racket for the first time and believe the sport has a place for someone who looks like them. By critiquing Eala's visibility, Oprah arguably targeted the very lifeblood of modern sport in the digital age. Alexandra Eala is not a distraction from tennis. She is one of the most powerful forces currently drawing people toward it. Ultimately, the clash between Oprah Winfrey and Alexandra Eala is about something that extends far beyond tennis matches, media influence, or social media follower counts. It is about how we measure impact in the modern world. How we judge young women who dare to be visible, complicated, vocal, and unapologetically themselves in public. And most importantly, who gets to decide what a legacy actually looks like. Oprah's legacy is beyond dispute. She has broken barriers, built institutions, and left marks on history that will endure. But no single person owns the definition of impact. Alexandra Eala is writing her own history on her own terms, blending world-class athletic excellence with the authenticity and outspoken courage of a modern icon who knows precisely where she came from and exactly where she is headed. And if anyone still needs to be reminded of that, she has already provided the answer. 8 words. Clear conscience. And over a decade of grinding from Manila to Mallorca to Melbourne. My legacy is built on courts, not couches. Remember those words. They will be quoted for years to come. Now the debate is open and every voice matters. Was Oprah out of line? Or does she raise a legitimate point about the tension between fame and genuine depth? And is Alexandra Eala's 8-word reply the most memorable athlete comeback of the decade? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown compelling and want to stay inside every story that matters in professional tennis, the rivalries, the controversies, the cultural moments that go far deeper than the scoreboard, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Because in the world of tennis, the action never stops. And neither do we.